So good morning again, everybody. My name is Lynn Gardner. I want to welcome you to our online team call. I just made an announcement, I'll repeat again, and that is that I open this call up to the world. The main reason for that is it's usually just our team, if you will, but I've had a lot of people comment and wonder how do we handle this kind of thing online, how can you bring your team together and try to give a little kind of a local feel. We're all striving to have a global business, and as we do, it's very difficult to make people feel like they're part of the fold. So this is working out really well for us. I want to just welcome all of our guests. Thank you for being with us. I hope you gleaned something for your business out of it. And if you have any questions about the format and how we work it, I'm more than happy to share that with you afterwards. I do have everybody muted out at this point. Once again, there's you can raise your hand. You'll see a little icon there to raise your hand. So as we come to a close, if you'd like to make a comment or whatever, I'll unmute you, let you know I'm going to unmute you, and I'll unmute you so you can ask your questions and we can move forward. So we have a few announcements before we get going. First of all, if you've not been a part of the leadership call that Tamia is doing, you've been missing a good one. We just did the 6th of 12 week series. It's difficult. I know some people are, whine about the time. It's not easy sometimes to get your brain cells kicked in. It's 10 o'clock Eastern for us, but it's a fabulous call, and she's doing a wonderful job. John Maxwell is an amazing leader and trainer of leadership, and so it's really been an awesome call. Tamia did announce, I've got some fun news to announce for myself, but she did announce that she's going to keep a leadership call going. She's not going to keep John Maxwell's series going necessarily, but when this concludes at the end of the 12th week, she wanted to keep it going, some sort of leadership call. So last week, after her Tuesday night call, she reached out to me and asked me if I would partner with her in that. So I am so honored. I can't tell you how thrilled I am, because Tamia is a hero of mine, and so I'm really, really blessed. I don't know what she has in mind. She goes like, in a million different directions, and she's in high gear all the time, and it's not necessarily going to be the same night, same time, but you guys can look for announcements. I'm really honored and privileged. I'm so excited to be helping her. If you haven't been able to get on the calls, there is a replay. Obviously, you guys know I'm always cracking the whip saying you got to be on there live, because I know what I'm guilty of, and as I ask questions, I see that I'm not alone, and that is usually if you don't make the commitment to be on a call, you're usually not going to make the time to listen to the recorded version either. So I would recommend that you try to get on the call. If you can't for whatever reason, don't deny yourself the blessing of this message. It's been tremendous. This leadership thing, when I first started out, I like to think of myself as a growing leader, and I would listen to these messages, and I've confessed this to a couple people where I say, oh my gosh, I feel so inadequate, but it's really pushing me, it's propelling me forward and making me face some things that I'm not doing so well, and give myself a little pat on the back for a few things I'm doing well. And if you want to grow in life, you got to dig deep. It's not always fun, it's often painful. So it was painful for me in the beginning. I'm really wrapping my head around it now. Can't say enough about it. You guys need to kick in. I do want to let you know it's not like you're left behind. So in other words, if you haven't been on the first 6 of these training this training series, you're not going to be lost. Okay, so anytime that you can plug into, you'll be blessed by that. I'm excited that we've got our luncheons going locally, the lunch demos, and we're working around, tweaking some things. We've got an amazing facility. It's just perfect. God is so good to me to provide a great platform for this. We just did our 3rd luncheon, and I'm finally in the groove. I've never seen one of these things, and so I really needed to get into the groove in terms of what I was going to present and how I was going to present it, and it was really a lot of fun. I started out the session by saying it's going to be a little show and tell time, but in reverse. So I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to show you what I told you. So it was really, I think, very well received. I thank everybody for their encouragement and their support with that. And again, it's a lovely facility. You can see it for our visitors. I was struggling with this because it's perfect in every way, but it's small, and it only seats 22 people. And so, but right now, that's a good thing. Until we all get this thing revved up and filled up, we'll figure it out. If we get everything, bursting at the seams, we'll figure it out. But for right now, it's amazing. It's been fabulous. If you guys aren't on board for global, I don't know what to tell you. I can't tell you, last year I was so proud. It was the first global event in the U.S. last year, and so I was determined to go. I didn't know if it was going to be here again. And when I went out there, of course, all of us struggle with having a lot of people on the team that are on board, but I was so proud when I went out last year and I had 3 people on my team that went with me. I mean, that's a coast-to-coast thing. That was a lot of commitment. I was so, so proud. And I hear that, we have even more on my team that are going to be joining us this year, and I'm so grateful. But, guys, you don't know what you're missing until you see what you're missing. And so you can't sit back on the sidelines and judge it and say, well, I don't have the money, or that's a whole bunch of hype. It's like going to an Amway conference. You don't know what you're missing. You have no idea. And so I would encourage you to think through that. And I would also tell you that, again, I was surprised that this was in the U.S. again this year. That's a rare thing. And so I wouldn't bank on it. If you're sitting back procrastinating, saying, well, I'll go next year, you might find yourself in Asia, because it was planned to be in Asia this year. So, for heaven's sake, do whatever it takes. I think we're like 70 days outside or something like that. So I was just now talking about pushing just a few minutes ago and just getting outside of our comfort zone. You know what? You got time to make a couple extra sales to get there. I remember when my kids, I had 4 kids for our visitors, just so you know, and I single mom, and I had 2 in college forever. Okay, I thought I was going to die. But you know what? I was in the real estate auction business, and I remember that I would have to plan a couple of transactions each semester. So I knew, okay, I've got to set this aside. I got to push it up a notch. I've got to do a couple of transactions just so I could cover tuition. Well, it's the same thing here. You got 70 days. Push yourself. Come up with a couple extra sales. Do something to get to that convention, because you'll be sorry. I've had a lot of people reach out, and again, it's not always affordable. I mean, all of us have to stretch, but there are plenty of people that want to share rooms. Don't worry about stuff like that. You don't need to rent a car. A lot of things that you just don't need to, that you're worried about, you don't need to be worried about. Get on board, make the commitment. You'll hear me say this often. If you haven't bought the ticket, then no wonder you don't feel pressured. But, get on board. We do have, by the way, a couple people in the group that had planned to come to the global. A couple people were going as a couple, and one of them can't go. So there are some tickets available out there within our group that were at that discounted rate, that first series of tickets. So if you need a ticket, you need to reach out. Maybe we can help everybody by connecting you to get those tickets offloaded. And then, of course, you all know about the fall event. I'm so excited about this event. Can't quit talking about it. And you see the lineup over here. It's so funny. People will say, how in the world, to get all these these big people to come to your farm? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, except God is very good to me. You can't beat this lineup, and it's so exciting. You had a couple more people from Louisiana register a couple days ago, and another person from Washington State. So, as you've been pondering even going to the global, imagine what it is for people on the West Coast making a commitment to come all the way to Virginia to this farm for this event. So I tell you, I'm excited. If you don't have your ticket, you better get it. When it's sold out, no exceptions. So I would hope that you have taken care of that, and I invite you, our guests, to consider joining us. It's going to be an amazing, a blessed time. We've got a couple surprises for you there, so think about joining us there. I like to always bring some sort of inspirational or spiritual message before I get into the meat of things, and this is coming from a workplace devotional that I receive every day. And as I read it, it was Matthew 7:26. I thought about not just my life and my walk with the Lord, but I also thought about my business. And it says, but everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense, does it, to build your house on sand? I mean, how long is it going to stand? I was also thinking back a long time ago when I was in the auction business, and I had an opportunity to work for Bob Johnson and Sheila Johnson. They're the owners of Black Entertainment Network. And they had a house that's right near where my friend Jack is calling in from, in Delaware, and they had built just this massive home, and it's typical with so many people that are affluent. They want to be like upfront and personal, man. It was as close to that beach as you probably were allowed to build at the time they built it. But guess what? Over time, the beach eroded. And over time, part of their house was just that. It was built on sand. And so I was brought in to be able to sell that challenge for them. If we don't have a rock solid foundation, we can't keep going. And so, the quote that came from this devotional was, you never know how well your house is built until it's tested. Isn't that true for us with a business? If we don't have a well-built business, or a well-planted business, or a structure, if you will, foundation, we don't know that until we see that it's tested, you know. Rains can reveal the quality of your roof, or wind and cold can reveal how well your home is insulated and things like that. And all kinds of factors can come into play with our business. It's important to have a good foundation. And how do we get that? Well, we learn from others. You know, we learn from others' mistakes, and we learn what works and doesn't work. And the best way that we can all do that is by being sure we're plugged in. You know, we're plugged in calls like this, global calls, any way we can. We're in such an amazing business to be able to learn from each other. And so, but it's very, very important to have that good foundation. I know I didn't have that in the beginning. I've never been in this industry. I was just confessing to my sponsor the other day and how much I've had to learn, because I've been very successful, and people look at me and say, wow, she's in sales and look at what she's done. But I got to tell you guys, I have never had to look for business until now. I know that sounds bizarre, and I'm happy to share with that story with you later on. But never in my 2 careers before this one did I ever have to go look for the business. So that's been a big struggle for me, and I needed to get the foundation and continue to work on myself. So I just thought that was really a great message this morning, and how it could be tied into our business and whether or not we have a good foundation. It can't be built on sand, folks. It won't stand through the trials, and you won't have the strength to go forward. So I'm going to talk a little bit about framing the info and positioning our customers as we're prospecting, because I think we all kind of make the same mistakes. And if there's anything I've learned in that whole journey of I've never looked for business, is gosh, my words are so important. You know, you just can't go out. We all get excited in the beginning, and we're like, oh my gosh, drink this water and everything's going to be okay. You know, and if you think about it, it's so ridiculous. No wonder more people run from us than come to us, because we don't carefully choose those words. We don't have a good foundation. And we do have to not only learn, you know, how to position the whole conversation, but we also need to practice our words. You know, I bring this up often, and I don't think I could say it often enough, and that is, you know, when I was in the auction business, I went off to auction school, and, you know, I had to learn, you learn the numbers and forwards and backwards and upside down. You don't, so that when you're out there doing what you do, when you're out there selling, you never think about the numbers. It's just automatic. You have memorized them, you've practiced them, the sequence of them just comes out. And by doing that, you can then focus on the customers, or the, you know, the buyers. You can put your focus out there to see and kind of see where they're coming from, read emotions, if you will. And it's really the same for us. If we learn the right words and we practice the right words, we can set that foundation for success and frame it in a lot better way than we are doing now. You know, but we need to put things in perspective. First of all, like it or not, people buy in based on emotions. You might ruffle up on that and think that, you know, I'm a very, you know, educated consumer. Bottom line is, people always buy in based on emotions, you know. So it's critical that we talk to their interests. We got to figure out, what do they get emotional about? You know, if they're going to buy into emotions, what are they getting emotional about? So we must include feelings in everything that we do with them. Instead, we're all guilty of just heading in the wrong direction, you know, based on our agenda or what we think we need to say, and we really never identify their interests at all. So we're just kind of like, you know, just chatty Cathy dolls, if you guys remember what those were, just kind of like pull the string and we talk, but we're really not focused in on what's going to appeal to their emotions. Or the other thing that we do is we just rattle on about water, or, oh, 8 points, and we talk about things that just have no bearing on their emotions at all. You know, we have to address their needs directly, and we all know how we do that, right? You got to first have a conversation with them. You got to figure out what makes them tick. Instead, we just seem to like jump into it and pounce on them before we even know what's going to strike their emotions. It doesn't work that way. But everything you've ever bought, if you've thought about buying a home, buying a car, whatever you bought based on emotion. And that person that helped you buy whatever it was you bought tapped into that emotion. You know, they didn't talk about things that had no relevance to what you wanted. They figured out what you wanted, and they worked with your emotions in that area. I know that a lot of people, every day I live and breathe in this business, people will rattle up and they'll say, oh, you know, I don't want to make money, and money's not the important thing, you know. And I get a little crazy about that, because, you know, I know what our mission is, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody more compassionate than I am. But the bottom line is, if I don't understand and I never really fully comprehend or learn how to address people, they're never going to hear about the good things I have to offer. So how compassionate is that in the end? I've got to learn how to reach them. The same way I do in my faith. If I pounced on somebody and started slapping them in the head with a Bible and just told them everything I believe, they're not going to listen to me. I've got to reach them at their emotional level. And so it's very important that we do this. And it's not about money. It's more about getting the message out to more people. So again, like it or not, people buy in based on emotions. So therefore, we have to accept the fact that their feelings, I know this might be hard for a lot of men out there, but their feelings are a very important part of the process. You know, we like to think we're in business, there's no room for that. And when we're in sales business, that's all there is. So are we busy letting our feelings be known, you know, while overlooking theirs? Do we just, you know, go rattling off? The answer to that for most of us, at least in the beginning stages of our business, is true. We're so busy telling them how excited we are about what we have that we never figure out what to talk to them about, what will get them excited about what we have. So are we overlooking them while just fulfilling our own desire to share whatever's on our heart? It's not your passion and your excitement's contagious, but it's not going to light a fire on anybody unless we figure out what those feelings are. So instead of saying things like, you know, oh, I represent a leader in the water ionizer industry and we're changing lives across the globe. That sounds pretty impactful once you're on this side of the fence. Once we know what we're talking about, that sounds like a pretty good line. Where instead of saying, you know, you'd be really great at this business, and I've heard that over and over, I've said it over and over, and although it might be true, we probably have to work on the emotions a little bit. You know, you could walk up to me, good grief, I make jokes about this, about every MLM company on the planet, you know, chase probably all of us, but when they find out you're in sales, they just go after you. You know, I've heard it, and I've heard how great I'd be in business, but that doesn't hit my emotions. We've got to find what the trigger point is on those emotions. So, you know, we look at things a little differently. So let's reposition to strike the emotions. So for instance, we might say something like, you know, we need to find out what kind of person we're dealing with first. So obviously that goes down to the interview or the forming, if you will. It goes down to finding out about them. You got to find out what kind of prospect it is, then tell them what you're going to do. And so this is just an example for you to look at here, but you know, it talks about, it says, I have a business that helps blank with kind of prospect to blank to basically achieve this. So again, example is, I have a business that helps baby boomers generate extra money for retirement so they can travel, spend time with the grandkids and not have to worry about running out of money. So instead of, again, saying, oh, I've got this great business and we're the leader in our industry and you'd be great at this business, you need to strike them, you know, where it hurts. And so if you're talking to a baby boomer, then this would be a great thing to do. They know they're a baby boomer, so you address it like that. I have a business that helps baby boomers. Help baby boomers do what? Well, you know, everything on the screen is what we those of us that have families, here's what we long for. We want a little freedom in our life. We want to spend time with our family and be a part of the next generation, you know, and we definitely don't want to worry about running out of money. Well, we all know, outside of what I'm discussing here with the script, we all know that all of us are worried about that. You know, we really are kind of in a place, and unless we have something like this business, we're going to work every day the rest of our lives no matter what. It won't be out of joy, it'll be out of necessity. And so this is striking them in the emotional level. And if we put it out there to a baby boomer, this might get their attention more than the other things that we were showing. Or something like this, you know, I have a business that helps working moms to make a great income working from home so they don't have to feel guilty for not being around when their kids need them the most. Well, I can tell you something, that strikes every working mom, especially a single working mom. I can't tell you the guilt that you go through, you know, when you're under the gun and you've got to put food on the table and you're sitting there knowing one of your kids needs you, or you got somebody else picking up a sick kid, or you might miss something in their lives, you know. It's horrible. I started working for myself a long time ago so I could have that flexibility. It's horrible to feel that way. So when you're talking to women that work, that have children, or single moms, a ton of those out there, you know, you need to strike them where it hurts, you know. So we've got something to help working moms or single moms, whatever you want to replace that with, to make a great income working from home. You know, you notice it doesn't say, hey, you could make a good part-time income, or hey, you could supplement your income. No, it's talking about a great income working from home so they don't have to feel guilty about not being around for their kids the most. I trust that you see what I'm doing here is trying to push in the emotions, finding out what makes them tick, and then talking to what makes them tick. And that's when we're going to have the greatest opportunity to hit. And then on the product approach, you know, it could be a bazillion different things that we would fill in here. But if you ran into somebody, for instance, with Lyme disease, and that's pretty predominant in our area right now, unfortunately. So we might say, I have a product that helps people with Lyme disease strengthen their immune system so that they're more equipped to regain their health and win the battle. Wow. I mean, isn't that better than saying, hey, I got some great water that you should drink. A lot of people drink it and they feel better. I've had people drink it and they get, it sounds so bizarre, guys. When people are outside of our world, they haven't had the opportunity to gain the knowledge that we have. So many of the things that we say are presumptive. It's like they don't know what we're talking about. We know what we're talking about. But when we say things like that, they sound so silly that they get discounted so soon. So if we can redirect that, set a firmer foundation on the words that we're sharing, we have a much better chance of reaching their, you know, them at an emotional level, if you will. You know, we've got to figure that out for ourselves. So on that was my short message to you this morning on how we can position and how we can frame things. And I tell you, the words are so important. We do have a lot of people that are talking about, you know, will you give me a script? Well, you know, we can give examples of things like this, but, you know, you've got to get your own personality into it. There's not a canned script for every condition out there, every financial position out there. There's not a canned script there, but we can talk about ideas and kick them around and see what works for us. But I have to tell you, over and over I say, and I am struggling so much with myself, you know, to learn, for instance, with this lunch demo, how am I framing this to invite people to get them, you know, feel compelled to show up? You know, how am I framing it? It would be one thing to say, hey, show up for a free lunch. That's a great thing. You know, I mean, that's certainly an attractive thing, and that's certainly what makes something like that work. But at the same time, you know, once I get people there, I need to know I've got somebody there to work with, right? I can't just have a bunch of lunch guests. And so it's really, really important that we learn to use our words. And I'm learning a lot, you know, a whole lot, because I come from such a different place of never having to look for business and never having to look for prospects. So on that note, I'm going to open it up for any questions, comments, anything that anybody out there would like to add. So again, for our guests, we've got a ton of them out there, by the way. Just raise your hand and I'll call your name out and unmute you, and I'll be happy to let you share something that you might want to share this morning. Anybody out there? Oh, they're so quiet this morning. Oh, goodness, we got a Marilyn Rotier on board. How are you doing this morning, my friend? It's so good to have you with us today.
I'm good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We've missed you. Haven't seen much of you lately. So good to have you on.
Thank you. Soon I'll be able to, the school season will be over and I'll be able to jump back into it. But I have to, first of all, thank you. It's a pleasure and such a great opportunity for me to be home, unfortunately sick, but home, and that's why I'm able to jump on the call. But I want to thank you for these three approaches that you just laid out for everybody, because often we are stuck and we are wondering and we're trying to find the words. And I work with that with the guys here, with the team, and I watch them all the time. They're just reworking their approach, because it really depends on the kind of person that they're dealing with.
Right.
Now, they deal mostly with young people, but that's only the beginning, because once we deal with the young person, we then have to work with the family. Most of the times we have to work with the parents and get them on board. So the product approach, the emotion approach that you're talking about, you know, work from home, be a mother and work from home or something like that. Those are excellent words, and I thank you for those, because I'm going to pass them on to the guys so that they can start incorporating them.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing, and I'm so sorry you're sick today, sweetheart. I hate to hear that, and I'll be praying for you. Get some rest and everything. But yeah, I think that's I appreciate your input, because in their world, you know, we could work with that a little bit too. By the way, for all of our guests, Marilyn Rotier's son is working this business like crazy. High school friends. It's just been crazy to watch. So cool to watch. But you know, it could be that, you know, we have a business that helps you know, college students get out of college with no debt. You know, it could be something like that, where we could frame that to work with more, you know, more of their demographic, if you will. But yeah, this is really powerful, I think, and we can all learn how to do this and do it better. So thank you for your input. Get better, my friend. I'm gonna unmute you again. I'll mute you again. Okay, I see Jack Stagman's hand up. Hold on one second. There you go, Jack. You're with us.
Hey, Lynn, can you hear me?
I can. Thank you.
Oh, good. Anyway, I'm at the beach with Otis as well, so he's been doing some cooking of all the fish, so we're going to have some fish for lunch today.
We'll
Anyway,
rub it in.
two things I wanted to mention was that, it's with this kind of business, you can basically be anywhere. So I got a call on Sunday from one of my 6A legs, and they had sold a machine, and we put the order through on Monday, and it went through fine. So it's great to earn 6 points when you're at the beach in the vacation.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's an amazing thing about this business. You can be anywhere. The other one is a sort of sad story. I've been working with a lady in Botswana that went to school with me, a primary school, and I hadn't seen her for 55 years. And I connected with her on Facebook maybe a year ago. Anyway, so she's in the stage now. She's just working with the people in Botswana to import the units, and she will, in the next 2 weeks, place an order. Anyway, so I saw a note on Facebook recently that she was feeling very sad and very depressed, and I reached out to her and I said to her, because I know that she had lost her husband in the last 6 months, but I did not know the circumstances. And so I reached out and I said, are you able to maybe share privately what happened? Anyway, so she sent me a note privately yesterday saying that she really needs to get a business going because her husband had a significant business, and it was going down the tubes, and he was having affairs with different people, and this one girlfriend of the husband apparently stole all of his money, and he was so angry he went out and he shot her and then shot himself.
Oh, wow.
And so I could just relate to her, so we come across real life situations in our business dealings, and we've got to come alongside people like that and really just encourage them and help them to get back on track, so you can understand why she is feeling so down and so lonely. So this is going to give her a project now, to get back on her feet, and she's willing to do a lot of travel in Botswana. So it was just really a touching story for me. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Wow, Jack, that is, talk about hitting people's feelings, man. You got me, in tears. I mean, I think that what you say is so important. That we have something for everybody. We really do. We're a business based on compassion, spreading true health. We all know what that is. It's not just the physical side, it's the financial side, and both of those things in balance will bring a great spiritual foundation. But I think we tend to approach people from from the direction that we're coming from. So in other words, if we had a massive health condition, and we turn that around, that's really all we focus on, and that's a good thing. God puts us through certain things to be a witness. But on the other hand, a woman like this needs hope. I mean, what a terrible situation. She's got to not only rebuild her life, but her heart's broken, and just being around people like that to offer them compassion is the best thing that we can do. Everything else will follow, if we just offer the best that we have up to offer. And so, gosh, she'll be in my thoughts and my prayers. But don't ever overlook, guys. You might be sitting there fat, dumb, and happy, and you've never had a financial strike in your life, and I'm happy for you, okay? But that's not the case for a lot of people. And you can see the desperate measures. I mean, the suicide rate in America today is unbelievable. And if you look at it, 99% of the time, it's based on money. And so, we have something to help, and we do have hope for people, that can work this business, and we can come alongside them. So that's powerful, Jack. I thank you for the reminder, for what we do today. So I appreciate that. Anybody else want to raise your hand? We're happy to hear from you. Any questions, comments, anything that you want to share? That's what we're here for. Pat Cassidy, 1 second. Got you unmuted. There you go, my friend. You're unmuted.
Hey, well, thanks, Lynn. First of all, I just want to say a lot of the points that you brought up this morning are just so important. Your points about feelings, emotions, communication, the fact that this business really is never about you. It's always about the other person. And how we communicate with people is critically important. And I know that I kind of harp on the same thing just about every time, but I think it's important level where we get feedback, we get instant feedback, we get some feeling from people, so we can identify how we can help them get to where they want to go. And what I found from a lot of people is that it's very difficult to get that through texting and email and things like that. And so I would encourage everybody to pick up the phone and talk to people. There's places for texting, there's places for email, obviously. But if you really want to communicate one-to-one on an emotional level and really find out how people are feeling, you got to talk to them either in person. The absolute best is face-to-face in person. The second best is to pick up the phone and actually talk to them and get that feeling, because you can't do it. You can't do it through. We have to be very careful about that. And I know we're going to a texting society, and for us, it doesn't work very well. And so, just wanted to pass that along. I wanted to thank you for all the great information this morning. I know I really appreciate that. So I'm going to hand it back to you.
Well, thank you so much, Pat, for your kind words, and I think that's great input. A very, very good point, by the way, because we do live in an age of technology, and it is so simple for so many times just to, put out a quick text. It's so simple to do a Facebook message or something like that. It's very simple, and sometimes it's absolutely life-saving, if you can't pick up the phone or whatever. And, if you're just going to tell somebody, hey, I'm going to meet you there in 5 minutes, whatever, it's a really good thing. But when we're trying to get to know people, when we're trying to, figure out what their life is like and how we can help them, it's going to take, one-on-one. It definitely is. And I don't necessarily mean in the same room, but, you can, if you learn how to look, you can see every emotion a person's feeling. You can see when they're smiling and they're talking about life, and you say, I know there's something behind that look in their eyes. When you learn to listen, you can hear those things on the phone. You can tell in someone's voice, are they really connecting with me? What's going on? You can train yourself to hear those things, but you're not going to do it with text. Oh my goodness, I've seen more spats and fights, and I've been in the middle of things, texting back something, and somebody takes it the wrong way, and women especially, friends, are guilty of that. I hate it. So, if you got something sensitive, pick up the phone and don't be writing books of text, because we are busy, and that's not the way to do it. Pick up the phone, and by the time you pick up the phone and have the conversation, it's a lot faster than the 50,000 texts that go back and forth. And remember, I'm old, and I've got to find my reading glasses every time you text me. So you got to remember that. So thanks for all that, Pat. And I see Mike has his hand up. And Mike, I'm unmuting you. How you doing, my friend?
Doing good, Lynn. Yeah, appreciate your little training this morning, and that's something that we all need to work on is asking the right questions and finding out what people really want and what they're looking for, rather than what we think they want or
Right.
what we're looking for. And it's a very simple concept, but it's so vitally important for what we're doing. And Jack's story about the lady he reached out to, just demonstrates what a powerful thing we have in this business. And we do change people's lives. I mean, every day. And if we follow through and we're persistent, we can really make a huge difference for a lot of people, financially, health-wise, whatever. But we have to connect with them on that emotional level that you talked about,
Mm-hmm.
to make that happen. So, thanks for your comments. I appreciate that, and thanks for all your hard work.
Oh, you bet, Mike. I'm so glad you're feeling better and everything's going well. So thanks for your input as well. We really appreciate you so much. But that's so true, and what Mike was saying, and you can't put a price tag on hope. I've certainly had one particular time in my life. I'm usually pretty resilient, and I just had this wave of this destruction really had just come through my life, and I was paralyzed. And I just, every day when I got up to face my day, it was a struggle for me to find hope. And I'm a woman of faith, okay? So it can strike any of us where we just look at our circumstances, whether it's we were just diagnosed with something, deadly and horrible, or we're thinking, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to pay my house payment next month. Whatever it is, it's so important that we be able to offer hope. So for me, especially as a believer, this business is just so perfect, because I don't have an agenda other than trying to, share that compassion, trying to offer people hope. And I know with certainty, if I do that consistently with the right heart, the money's going to come. I don't need to worry about the money part. I just need to do my part. And my part, it has to be on a compassionate level. And when we're just skimming the surface and we're busy telling everybody what we like and what we want to do and what we think they need, like Pat said, or, we're just throwing up water all over them, we're really not being compassionate at all. We're just being excited. And so we've got to take control of our own feelings and put a little control to those feelings so that we can express them in a way that's going to touch the other person. Again, I so often go back to my faith. I can't stop talking about that anymore, and Ken breathing, but we have to, when we realize that we need to be sharing our faith, it's so important that we learn how to share our faith. It's not just being a living, walking, breathing example. That's first of all, that when you look at me, I want to be sure that you see Christ in me. I need to watch my behavior and the way I treat people and things like that. But also when it comes down to brass tacks and you might have some questions of me, I need to be sure that I can frame it so that it hits your emotions. This is no different for me. And so again, if we learn to have that foundation that's not on sand, and we're willing to be teachable and constantly be improving ourselves so that we can be more of a blessing to another, that's when it's game time. And when I was listening to Tamia last night, one of the things that I love about her is she has also had a life of adversity, and she's so open about it, and that's the way we bless people, when we share what we've been through, And she was talking about, just very briefly, through her life and each step of her life, starting from when her mother died and she was 7, and she would say, why me? Why me? All these things she just kept putting out there. Why me? Why me? Why me? Until she finally realized that everything she had ever been through wasn't about her at all. It was about helping another person. And the same is true for you. If you've had a huge health turnaround or financial turnaround or spiritual turnaround, whatever it is in this business, none of it before that has had anything to do with you. It's been preparing you to be a blessing to another person. And that's, not just my faith talking, but that's just the dynamics of life talking. And so we can offer people hope in every direction. I see my friend Bev has her hand up. I'm going to unmute you. I trust that's not a mistake. Are you with me, Bev?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great.
I just wanted to say again how much we appreciate all of your hard work that you put in to be on all to gather all this information and to bring it across to us so eloquently so that we can understand it. And you're just doing a great job, and we appreciate it. And I just wanted to, hope you don't mind, I wanted to put a plug in for your event in October, because I've been to been to that area of Virginia, and it's just a beautiful area, and it's going to be such a great event. I just can't wait. I'm looking forward to being there, and so hope that if anyone hasn't got their ticket, that they'll definitely do it.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Bev. That's how encouraging that is for me. I appreciate you coming on the line this morning. I'm going to mute you back out here. For those visitors out there that, not familiar with our team, Bev is my sponsor. And Bev and I were very good friends before this business. We were in real estate together, and so we have a very special connection. So how wonderful it is to hear your sponsor edify you in that way. It's just like, gives me goosebumps, so I appreciate it. And we're excited because Bev was in this area of Virginia for a long time, and now she's in the panhandle of Florida. So she's looking forward to coming back to this area. It is a beautiful area, and we can't say enough things. I just get so excited when I see people registering from all over the country. I'm moved, you know, I really am. But we're excited for that. It's going to be an amazing event. One of the things that's going to be so different about this, by the way, if I'm going to kind of follow up with your plug, and that is that, you know, it's going to be very tastefully done. Terry Coral is he's my right arm. He's my hero, actually, because he's the one with all the experience with the event planning and everything. But if you've ever been to a beautiful outside event, you know, maybe an outdoor wedding with tents and tables, it's going to be beautiful, okay? It's not just sitting at a picnic table in the sun with mosquitoes, okay? It's going to be really beautiful. But one of the great things about this one is that so often when you go to an event and it's in a hotel, it's a little disjointed, you know, and even when they pull us together and perhaps we have a banquet dinner or something, you're only at the table with 9 other people. You're not really able to bond with a lot of people. But in this venue, you know, there's only going to be 200 people, and we're all going to be right there together. There's no wandering off down the hallway, so you better love who you show up with, right? But, you know, it's going to give a chance to really, really bond. I mean, you're going to be sitting there being able to share meals, and, you know, we're going to have a cookout on Saturday and a barbecue on Sunday, and time to really bond with these people. So, boy, I'm so excited. I know Terry is. Every time we talk about it, we come up with, you know, some cool ideas, and we get out of control sometimes, but we're very, very excited. And I'm so excited, Bev, that you're going to be able to make it up. And she's actually going to spend a couple weeks. You know, I get my sponsor in town for a couple weeks. I'm really fired up about that. But thank you for your words. Anybody else this morning? Guests, you can feel free to pipe in. This is not, you know, I'm glad to have you pipe in. We just wanted to invite you into this format so you could see what it was like. If there's anybody out there, we're happy to open the mic. And right now, I don't see anybody else coming on, so I'm going to close the call out. Again, I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you to our team for allowing me the opportunity to open it up for others to learn from us. And I hope that you've been able to see how we are able to pull it together and kind of make it feel a little personal. I would encourage you to do the same thing for your team. It doesn't have to be, you don't even have to have any slides. You could just do some sort of, you know, conference call. The free conference call system that so many people use would work as well too. You don't have to, you know, make it formal like this, if you will. But I would encourage you to do it, because here we are. We've got, you know, people all over the place. We've got people in California and Texas and Virginia and Florida and Delaware, and they're all over. I don't even know where, Indiana. They're all over the place on this call. But somehow if we work hard, we can make it feel like a team and make it feel personal. So I hope it's been a blessing to you. You guys go out and make it a great day, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.